Hello everyone, this is Nim here. How are you all doing? Gee, it's hot here in Sydney. If you're watching from Sydney, I'm sure you can empathize with the complete discomfort of a summer that is absolutely scorching. And hope you've all been well. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear. I can't see the usual sort of pop-up faces that I normally see to show me who's logging in. So hopefully the audio and the visual is clear. So if you can hear me, can you please drop a line or a comment to say, yes, you can hear me, so that I can continue without worrying too much about the audio. Can someone just write a comment to say that the audio is okay? Hi, Vinita. Hi, Irene. Can you all hear me clearly? Perfect. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. Hopefully, you've all had a wonderful Christmas. I'm sorry I wasn't able to send Christmas greetings because I was away on a cruise. But hopefully you had a good one and you're enjoying the holiday season at present. Like I said at the start of the video, I came back from my holiday to this massive heat wave in Sydney. And we've been having that heat wave for the past few days, so it's scorching weather. But having said that, I had a wonderful holiday. It was a very brief one, a 10-day cruise to the Pacific Islands. So my family and I, we visited the islands of New Caledonia and Vanuatu. And it was actually the first time I was on a cruise. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I had a great time. It turned out that I did like it very much. What did I do? I read a lot of books while I was there. I sipped some delicious cocktails by the pool. And of course, I got my hair braided while I was on the island of Vanuatu. So I posted this pic with my braids this morning on social media. And thank you so much for all the wonderful comments that I got on it. And thank you so much for all the love you've shown that particular picture. So yes, I brought back some very fond memories of the holiday and back to work, believe it or not. Hi, Pallavi. Thanks for letting me know the audio is good. Hi, Madhu. Hi, Veera. Yes, I'm back to this heat in Sydney. So winter almost seems like a distant memory, as I'm sure you'll all agree. So coming back to today, it's been more than 4 months since I've started Sunday Chats with Nim. I can't believe where the time has flown. I've thoroughly enjoyed interacting with all of you every fortnight. I know I began the show initially as an every week show, but because of a lot of writing commitments and speaking commitments, I've changed that to once a fortnight. Now, we are fast approaching the end of 2018. And I've spoken to lots of people and I've asked them how their 2018 was, how it was for them. And I've received an entire range of adjectives when people describe their 2018. For some people, it was a really, really tough year. For others, it was the best year of their lives. And for still others, it was just an average year when nothing spectacular happened, but nothing too bad happened either. Now, as we stand on the cusp of the end of a year and as we are on the threshold of a new year, it is a perfect time, a perfect opportunity to look back and to reflect on the year that was and to reflect on the lessons that we learned from the year that went by. But it's equally important that once we finish assessing the lessons we've learned or the lessons that life was trying to teach us in the year that went past, it is equally, if not more important, to look ahead and to focus all our energies on making the most of the new year, on tapping into all the magic that the new year has the potential to bring into our lives. And that reminds me of this beautiful quote I had once read, and I made a note of that as well to share with you all. And this quote is, "Although no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. And I think that is such an amazing quote, filled with so much of positivity. So what I'm going to do today is the last Sunday Chats with Nim for 2018. I've got lots of exciting ideas for 2019 on how to make Sunday Chats a lot more fun, a lot more interactive, but I'm going to talk about that later on in the new year. What am I going to do in today's session? It's going to be a bit of a wrap-up. I am going to give a summary of 4 of the most important topics that I covered in my previous episodes of Sunday Chats with Nim. So I'm just going to revisit 4 of the most important topics I've covered in past episodes and touch upon some of the key points that I think might help you begin the new year with your best foot forward. So as you all know, I don't like being the only person talking for 20 minutes or half an hour. So continue saying your highs and continue sharing your insights and your comments with me, because that just makes me feel less alone. You know, it can get quite boring sitting on this side of the camera and being by yourself and talking for 20 minutes. So please do continue saying hi and sharing your thoughts and comments with me. So what are those 4 topics that I'm going to share with you today? The first topic, which was actually the topic I covered in my very first episode of Sunday Chats, was what to do when you feel you're not good enough. After that, I'm going to talk about very quickly and briefly how to deal with negative people, particularly if they're in your family or if they're in your immediate network or in your inner circle. Then we're going to talk about what to do when your closest friends tell you small lies. And lastly, we'll touch upon how to let go of your past. So all of these are topics that I have covered in past episodes of Sunday Chats with Nim. And if you have missed any of those episodes, please do check them out on my YouTube channel. All of them are there, including the tip of the day motivational videos that I did a while back as well. So Madhu says, we went there in August. Fantastic. I'm sure you had a wonderful time. The Pacific Islands are indeed everything they are made out to be and a lot more. And I'm sure I would love to go back there someday as well. So let's talk about what to do when you feel like you're not good enough. Now, there are times when many of us feel as though we've accomplished absolutely nothing in our lives. We feel as though everyone around us is smarter than us, better than us, or simply luckier than us. Now, the problem with this kind of mindset is that if we get into the habit of constantly comparing ourselves with others, we develop a tendency to focus on what others have that we don't have. And this creates a lot of internal dissatisfaction, a lot of frustration and resentment within us. So what I suggest is to look at it from a different perspective. Instead of constantly comparing yourself with others and focusing on what you don't have and what they have, instead focus on your own strengths. Look back at your life and make a list of some of the most wonderful things that have happened to you in your life, and then try and pinpoint the role you played in making it happen, however small. So it's not compulsory that the role you played has to be this larger than life, massive role. No, but it is important to give yourself credit for some of the good things that happened to you. Why do I say this? Is because many of us become accustomed to attributing everything good that happens in our lives to luck. We get into the habit of saying, oh, I was just lucky and that's why such and such thing happened. But that's not always true. If we always attribute everything in our lives, the good stuff, to luck, then we are going to always underestimate our own strengths and our own contributions. So what I suggest you do is look back at some of the wonderful stuff that has happened to you over the years and give yourself credit for some of that. Because even though you think it might be luck that caused it, trust me, a lot of it happened because you worked really, really hard to make it happen. Because of your skills, because of your patience, because of your inherent good nature, certain good things have happened to you. So remind yourself of those and those incidents, those experiences, those achievements, and then pause long enough to pat yourself on the back for them. It is very important to celebrate our own triumphs, and that's one of the best ways to stop constantly feeling as though you're not good enough. So that was the first point, and everyone's gone silent. Remember that today is also a general Q&A. It's not just a summary of my past episodes of Sunday Chats. It's also a general Q&A. So if you have a burning question related to personal development or professional development that you've wanted to ask me for a while, now is a great opportunity to do so. I just wanted to make a quick point here, which is I will only be able to answer questions that are asked during the live session. So while I'm live on Facebook, it becomes really difficult for me to respond to questions once the live session has ended. So if you have any question related to personal or professional development, please ask me now, and I will do my very best to answer your question in the time that we have here together today. So that was the first point. We've just finished covering what to do when you feel like you're not good enough. Let me have a quick sip of water before I visit the next topic, which is what to do when your closest friends tell you small lies. Hi, Priya. I'm glad you're listening. Isn't it terribly hot in Sydney? I really don't like to complain about things like the weather, but honestly, this heat has taken me by complete surprise. But that's fine. It's a good time of the year. The flowers are in bloom, so let's focus on the positive. All right, so let's move on to our next topic, which is, again, a topic I had covered in one of my past episodes of Sunday Chats with Nim. And this is, before I go to what to do when your closest friends tell you small lies, I have to do another topic, which is how to deal with negative people in your life. A lot of people have asked me over the years how to deal with toxic people, particularly if they are in your family or within your inner circle or your immediate network, which does make things a little bit awkward. So how do you do that? Well, the most important thing to remember with regards to negative people or the people who push all the wrong buttons or the people who pull you down is to firstly practice self-awareness and to become aware of your own emotional triggers, right? Now, if you've been listening to my past episodes of Sunday Chats, you might be aware of this term emotional triggers because I've talked about it and written about it ever so often. Emotional triggers are the things, the topics, the words that bring out an emotion in you, an emotion that makes you uncomfortable. These are things that make you angry or upset or depressed. Okay? Now the problem is most of us are completely clueless about our individual, unique emotional triggers, and that's why so many of us become vulnerable. That's why so many of us feel as though we've been taken advantage of by the people who know us best. Now, have you ever noticed, think about this, have you ever noticed that sometimes the people who are closest to you end up saying or doing the things that are guaranteed to upset you? Have you ever noticed that? And why do you think this happens? This happens because they have figured out your emotional triggers long before you figured it out for yourself. Let me try and explain this with the help of an example. Let's say person A is a lady and she's a homemaker and she has chosen to stay at home and look after the kids and the family instead of building a career. And all her friends, everyone else in her friend circle has gone on to build these sparkling careers while she's the only one in the group who is a homemaker. While she's proud of her decision and her choice, the people around her seem to constantly make her feel guilty about it. Now, without her knowing it, this topic of why she chose to stay at home is her unique emotional trigger, one that she is not aware of. And that's why every time her husband criticizes her about her decision to stay at home, she gets inordinately upset. She gets she feels really sensitive, and she gets into an argument. And they both end up arguing, and their moods are ruined for days to come. Now, all of this can be avoided if she practices a bit of self-awareness. If she becomes aware of the fact that her emotional trigger, the very thing that makes her upset, if someone so much as mentions it, is her decision to be a stay-at-home mom. And the good thing is that once we become aware of our emotional triggers, it becomes so much easier for us to pick our battles, to sidestep battles, to stop letting people take advantage of our vulnerabilities, and of course, to not ruin our moods for the rest of the day. So each of our triggers are different. Your triggers will be different to my triggers. So it is important to look within and try and really think about those topics or those areas of your life that you're particularly sensitive to. And if you pay careful attention, you will notice that most of your arguments happen because you are unaware that your trigger has been put into motion. Right? So become aware of your emotional triggers, and that, according to me, is one of the best ways to deal with the negative people around you who are trying to pull you down. So let me read some of the comments. Vrinda says, your talks are cool. Thank you. I love that adjective, cool. I love the fact that you think my talks are cool. Thank you so much. And Priya says, it's super hot. It's unbearable. Absolutely right, Priya. It is super hot and it is unbearable, but hopefully the hot weather does not continue for much longer. And Vrinda says, yes, because we react. Absolutely right. After we identify the triggers. Yeah, so once we identify our own triggers, we will start noticing how many times in the past we've allowed people to take advantage of us because we were not aware of our triggers, but they are, right? That brings me to the next topic, which is what to do when your closest friends lie. So hopefully you're all enjoying today's session. For those who've only just joined in, we are doing a wrap-up, the last Sunday Chats with Nim for 2018. Of course, we will resume in the new year, but this is the last one for this year, and we're doing a quick wrap-up of some of the topics that I've covered in the last 4.5 months that I've been doing this particular Facebook Live show. I think I've done about 16 episodes so far, something along those lines. And if you've missed any of those, then you can always access them from my YouTube channel, which is called Nim Golkar. And Vrinda has a question. How can we remain calm after someone ridicules? Vrinda, that is a fantastic question. The way I deal with it is that when someone takes the trouble to ridicule me, what I remind myself is that that kind of behavior defines them, not me. So Vrinda, when someone tries to put you down, when someone ridicules you, remember that that is actually defining who they are as a person. It is not defining you. The way to remain calm is to understand what is at stake. Okay, it's easy to fly off into a temper. But what I do is I remind myself of all the things that I have to achieve during that day. Now let's say, because I'm writing my 3rd book at the moment, and every time I'm writing a book, I have a daily goal of writing 2,000 words. I always have the goal for the day at the top of my mind, which makes it much easier for me to pick my battles with care. So every time someone says something and I feel tempted to get into an argument, my mind immediately switches to the goals that have to be accomplished for that day. And in my mind, the thought goes on that, oh my goodness, I have to write 2,000 words. Can I afford to get into this fight right now? And the answer is a resounding no. And so once you recognize that most arguments are huge time wasters and they ruin your mood and you no longer feel in the mood to tackle your to-do list, once you realize all the things that are at stake, all the things that will not get done, it is a lot easier to remain calm when people say things to pull you down or when people say things that trigger you. So Vrinda, hopefully in the briefest way possible, I hope that answers your question. Always keep your goals in mind. Always remind yourself of what's at stake. If you allow yourself to get sucked into this argument, and when you put things into perspective, it becomes so much easier to not react negatively to the negative people around us. And congratulations for the new book. Thank you. It is still very much in the making, and it is a lot of work, and it's really messy when you're writing your first few drafts. But thank you for the good wishes, Vrinda, and I will keep everyone posted about how the book is progressing. And Madhu has a question: how to deal with the emotional triggers after recognizing them? Great question, Madhu. The thing with recognizing your emotional triggers is really about being aware. You don't have to do anything specific after you recognize your emotional triggers, because I think recognizing your trigger is really most of the hard work done. Because we are not aware of our triggers, we find it easy to get into arguments, because we walk right into the trap that people set for us. So the main work that you'll have to do is to practice self-awareness and become aware of your own emotional triggers. You'll see a pattern. When you look back at past arguments or past conflict situations, you will recognize a pattern. You will recognize that typically there are 2 or 3 things that always put you in a bad mood. And recognizing that is more than half the battle won. So what happens is, next time someone tries to begin an argument with you by using one of your emotional triggers, once you're aware of them, then you can say, aha, I know exactly what this person is trying to do. And then you can make the decision of whether or not you want to participate in that argument. Right? The way to know whether a battle is worth fighting or not is to ask yourself what you stand to lose. If the cost of fighting that battle is higher than the benefits, then you need to walk away. Okay? So if the cost of arguing with someone else, if you weigh what it's going to cost you versus the benefits of arguing. If the cost is more than the benefits, walk away. Like I've always said in all my videos, and like I've always written in my posts, walking away from an argument does not mean that you have failed, just as having the last word does not mean that someone has won. So it's very important to put that in perspective. You're very welcome, Vrinda. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I'm glad the answer resonated with you. So let's quickly, oh my goodness, the half an hour is almost up, but I still have 2 topics to cover. So let's quickly go on to what to do when your close friends tell you small lies. Now, many months ago, I received a message from a lady. It was a really interesting message, and because of that particular email, I actually explored this topic in one of my past episodes of Sunday Chats. And the topic is what to do when your close friends or your best friends tell you small lies. I'm going to read out that message to you, what this person had written. And of course, all messages to me are always anonymous. So if you ever have any question you would like explored in Sunday Chats, please do send me a message on info@nimkolkar.com. Please avoid sending messages through Facebook Messenger, because I do tend to miss some of them, because there are so many messages that are currently waiting to be read. But if you send them to info@nimkolkar.com, I promise to read through them and add it to my list of topics to be explored in future episodes of Sunday Chats with Nim. So let me read you this message that I received from this lady a few months ago. Hi Nim, I'm a little upset with one of my closest friends. I recently found out that she bought a new place. The reason I'm upset is because she was so secretive about it. We have often discussed buying a house, etc., but she used to always say they had no plans of buying one yet. So when I found out the truth, I was naturally hurt. I feel betrayed. Why so much secrecy? Why couldn't she have simply told me, considering we're such good friends? Now, I'm sure many of us have experienced something vaguely similar to this poor young lady who's written to me. Now, I'm going to share some of my thoughts on this topic. First of all, I truly, genuinely believe that lots of people keep lots of things secret. Okay? And there are many, many different reasons why people keep secrets. not only from their closest friends, but also from their best friends. So let me tell you some of these reasons. Firstly, some people are superstitious and they don't like to talk about something until and unless it actually happens because they don't want to jinx themselves. Sometimes people want to be the first in their group to achieve something so that they feel really exclusive, whether it's buying an investment property or starting a business or anything else that gives them that exclusivity tag. Right? They want to be the very first in their group to do something. And then lastly, there are some people who are deeply private and they don't like talking about the most important things in their lives. Okay? So the most important thing to remember in this topic is that if we go through life having too many expectations from the people whom we call our friends, we're going to open ourselves to a lot of unnecessary hurt. Now, you might be thinking, is asking your friend to be honest with you too much of an expectation? No, of course not. It is not too much of an expectation. But if we expect our friends to be honest and transparent about every single thing in life, big or small, it's not going to be possible in the real world. Okay? If we're going to expect our friends to tell us every single thing that happens in our lives, then that's putting too much of a burden on our friends, and also it's going to make you unnecessarily vulnerable. As long as your friends are there for you in your times of need, as long as your friends are there for you most of the time, it's a good idea to give each other a bit of space. That's the main thing to remember when you feel that your friends are telling you small lies. It is basically to reduce your expectations and not expect your friends to tell you every single thing. It does not make them a bad friend. That's just the way the world is. So let's stop feeling hurt and betrayed by these things. They'll always have some secrets that they will never tell you, and that's perfectly okay. It also gives you the freedom to keep certain things to yourself. And that brings me to the very last topic that I'm going to very, very quickly explore today, and that is how to let go of your past. Okay? Now, you've probably heard a lot of people tell you from time to time that it's important for you to learn to let go of the negative baggage that is holding you down, that you need to let go of negative emotions like anger or shame or guilt. Now, there is a reason why so many people find it so difficult to properly follow this advice. This is because when we try to let go of a negative emotion, an emptiness is created in that part of our mind where this emotion once lived. And this emptiness can be extremely terrifying unless and until we fill it up with something solid, concrete, and positive. But the problem is, most of us will try to give up a negative emotion, but we forget to replace it immediately with a positive emotion. And because we don't fill it up with something new, that emptiness remains. It terrifies us. And because it terrifies us, what do? We reach out and we snatch it, the same emotion that we had tossed away, and we reinstate it into our minds in order to feel complete again. But the irony of it is that just because a vacuum has been filled does not mean we are complete. Because after all, that vacuum has been filled with a negative emotion. So how do you combat that? I'm going to explain this to you with a very quick example. Let's say that you are haunted by the memory of an incident that happened way back in your past. And every time you think about this incident, it fills you up with an emotion. And that emotion is that of shame. Now, you want to let go of these feelings of shame every time you think about this episode in your life, and you want to replace it with, let's say, empathy. So how do you go about doing that? One option is maybe you could look up some volunteering opportunities in an organization that helps people whose needs are far greater than your own. Remember, your suffering is part of your past. But these people's suffering, whom you set out to help, their suffering might be very much current. And because of that, their need is more urgent than yours. When we learn to focus on a cause that is bigger than ourselves, when we teach ourselves to feel empathy with their pain, that's when we give ourselves a chance to reduce our own suffering and to finally be able to kill the demons of our past, and in that way to eventually let go of the past that has been haunting us. So folks, hopefully you've enjoyed today's wrap-up session for 2018. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you as always. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nim Golkar. And if you have any topic that you would like me to explore in future sessions of Sunday Chats, please do drop me an email to info@nimgolkar.com. Let me quickly read what Priya has to say. Priya says, many times any motivation stays for a short time. As soon as something unpleasant or negative happens, it simply pushes me back to the same position from where I started. How to stay motivated until we achieve our small targets? The first, fantastic question, Priya. Thank you for asking that, as I'm sure a lot of other viewers would resonate with it as well. I can only explain from a personal perspective on how I deal with the little hiccups that pop up during our day that can set us back. Like I always say, the first thing is to be aware of your goals. If your goals are not written down, it is very easy to let the little things that happen during our day, the little mood spoilers, to let them prevent us from making progress. So for each day, every day, when I wake up, I know in my mind what I have to achieve during that day. Once you know the goals that you need to achieve, it becomes a lot easier to put things into perspective. Now, let's say something happens that Priya puts you into a bad mood. Let's say you get into an argument with someone and that ruins your mood. The best thing to do with things like that is to not fight that emotion. Okay, getting into a bad mood is very much required for us to be able to embrace a new and positive mood, a more positive mood later on. So don't try to not feel upset or not feel demotivated. Embrace that feeling, allow it to seep into you, but also try and see what you can learn from that incident that has just happened that will prevent it in future. Once you've learned that lesson, give yourself, a time limit. Tell yourself that I'm only going to think about this incident. I'm only going to cry over it for the next 15 minutes. But after that, I am going to ask myself only 2 questions. Can I do something about this to avoid it in future? Or the second question, or is this completely out of my control? If there is something you can do to avoid it in future, lesson learned, think about it and move forward. Remedy the situation if you can. If not, keep it in mind for future reference. But if it's something out of your control, you simply have to grit your teeth and move ahead, because not everything in life is always fixable. There are things that are in our control and there are things that are not. So if we focus all our energies throughout the day on things that are outside our control, we're only going to make ourselves increasingly unhappy. So hopefully, Priya, that answers your question. I know it was a brief answer, but because of time constraints, I am trying to keep those brief. But I have written about this in depth in a past article. So if you visit my blog on www.nimgolkar.com, and the article title, I believe, is How to Stop Overthinking. I'm pretty sure I've covered this topic in that particular article. So do visit my blog and read it. There's a lot more information there in depth. And what else? Let's see. Vrinda says, wishing them and everyone listening a Happy New Year. How sweet. A Happy New Year to you too. Thank you so much for the good wishes. And Deborah says, it was so interesting. Thank you very much, Nim. God bless you. Thank you so much, Deborah. I'm so happy that you enjoyed the session. And Madhu says, thanks, Nim. Wishing you and all listeners Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Madhu. May 2019 be everything that you envisioned it to be and a lot more. And Vandana says, sorry, missed it. We'll go through the recorded program. Vandana, yes, please do. Today is a wrap-up, the last Sunday Chats with NIM for 2018. So what I've done is a wrap-up session where I've given a summary of 4 of the most important topics that I've covered in past episodes of Sunday Chats. And Priya says, we'll keep these suggestions in mind, and Happy New Year. Thank you so much, Priya. Wishing you a very, very Happy New Year too. Glad that the suggestions I shared are something that you enjoyed listening to. Thank you, everyone. Love you all, and wishing each and every one of you a very, very happy New Year, and may 2019 see all your dreams coming true. See you soon, and see you in the new year. Take care. Bye for now.